The most dangerous monsters are not the ones who hide in darkness. They are the ones who stand in the light, holding a Bible in one hand and a closed fist behind their back. In the bustling town of Enugu, everyone knew Deacon Chidi Okafor as the perfect Christian man. What they didn't know was that every Sunday morning, before he led worship, his wife Ngozi cleaned blood from her lips and covered bruises with makeup. But secrets, no matter how carefully buried, have a way of clawing back to the surface. Before we continue with what happened next, if you are finding this story compelling, consider subscribing. We post new African stories every week, and your support allows us to keep bringing you these deeply interesting stories. Now, back to the story. Enugu was a town where everyone knew everyone's business, or at least they thought they did. On any given Sunday, you could find half the community at Grace Redeemer Church, where 38-year-old Chidi Okafor served as the youngest and most beloved deacon in the church's history. That's Chidi, the women would say at the market, fanning themselves under the hot afternoon sun. If only my husband was half the man he is. See how he opens doors for his wife. See how he speaks of her with such respect. Chidi was indeed a sight to behold. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a smile that could convince you to buy sand in the desert. His businesses flourished, a transport company, 2 filling stations, and a growing real estate portfolio. He quoted scripture like he breathed air, and was always the first to arrive when someone in the community needed help. And his wife, Ngozi, 35-year-old Ngozi Okafor, was an accountant at a reputable firm in town. Smart, soft-spoken, always impeccably dressed, the perfect deacon's wife. She sang in the choir, organized the women's fellowship, and never had a bad word to say about anyone. She is blessed, the church mothers would declare. See how her husband treats her like a queen. If only they knew that queens could live in cages too. The Igbo people have a proverb, "Ihe niile na-egbuke egbuke adịghị mma." Not everything that glitters is gold. But in Chidi's case, the shine was so bright it blinded everyone to the rust underneath. For 4 years, 1,460 days, Ngozi had lived a double life. By day, she smiled at church programs, laughed at dinner parties, and played the role of the blessed submissive wife. By night, she flinched at footsteps, memorized the patterns of Chidi's moods, and learned exactly how to move through their home to avoid triggering his rage. The Ngozi who existed in public was a carefully constructed performance. The real Ngozi, the one who cried silently in the bathroom, who wore long sleeves in the scorching heat to hide bruises, who had learned to make herself small and invisible, that Ngozi existed only behind closed doors. It was a Thursday evening in late October when Ngozi's phone buzzed during dinner. "Sis, surprise! I'm coming home this weekend. Got a few weeks off from the site. Can't wait to see you and Chidi. See you Saturday." The message was from Emeka, her younger brother. 28 years old, an engineer working on oil rigs in the Niger Delta, and the only person in the world who could still make Ngozi smile genuinely. Ngozi's hand trembled as she held the phone. "Who is that?" Chidi's voice cut through the air like a blade. He sat across from her at the dining table, his plate of jollof rice untouched, his eyes already calculating. It's Emeka. He's coming home to visit this weekend." Chidi set down his fork with deliberate slowness. "Your brother, the one who thinks he's too big for his own good because he works on some oil rig." "Chidi, please. He just wants to visit. It's been 8 months since..." Did I say he couldn't visit? Chidi's smile appeared, that terrible smile that Ngozi had learned meant danger. Of course he can visit. We are a Christian home. We welcome family. But that night, after the lights went out, Chidi made sure Ngozi understood the new rules. No closed-door conversations with your brother, he whispered in the darkness, his hand tight around her wrist. No complaints, no tears. You will smile. You will play your part. Do you understand? Yes, Ngozi whispered back, tears running silently down her temples. Yes, what? Yes, sir. The bruises on her wrist would bloom purple by morning, but long sleeves would hide them. They always did. Saturday arrived with the kind of brilliant sunshine that made everything look hopeful. Emeka pulled up in a taxi, his face breaking into a wide grin when Ngozi opened the door. "Nemi," he called out, using the affectionate term for his sister. He swept her into a hug, and for a moment, just a moment, Ngozi let herself sink into the safety of her brother's arms. But only for a moment. "Emeka, my brother." Chidi emerged from inside the house, arms spread wide, his voice booming with warmth. "Look at you. The oil rig has made you strong." The two men embraced, and Emeka grinned. "Chidi, my brother, you are looking well." "God is faithful," Chidi responded smoothly, his hands sliding possessively around Ngozi's waist. She stiffened slightly, but covered it with a smile. Come in. Your sister has prepared your favorite, ofe nsala and pounded yam." The weekend began like a well-rehearsed play. Chidi was the perfect host, attentive, generous, funny. He told stories about the church, about his businesses, about how blessed they were. He spoke of Ngozi with such reverence that even Emeka, who knew his sister better than anyone, found himself thinking that perhaps the worried phone calls he'd received from her over the years had been misunderstood. "My wife," Chidi would say, his hand on Ngozi's shoulder. "She is my crown. I thank God every day for her." Ngozi would smile, her eyes not quite reaching the happiness on her lips. But Emeka was observant. He'd always been observant. He noticed how Ngozi jumped slightly when Chidi raised his voice to call her from another room. He noticed how she always checked Chidi's face before answering any of Emeka's questions. He noticed how she'd lost weight, how her clothes hung a little looser, how there was a weariness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. On Sunday, they all went to church together. Emeka watched his brother-in-law lead the congregation in prayer. Watched the way people looked at Chidi with admiration and respect. He watched his sister in the choir, her voice beautiful, but somehow hollow. After service, people crowded around them. "Deacon Chidi," that was a powerful word. "Sister Ngozi, you look lovely as always." What a blessed couple. Emeka watched Chidi's hand rest on Ngozi's lower back, watched her smile grow tighter, watched her body lean ever so slightly away while her face remained perfectly pleasant. Something was wrong. He didn't know what yet, but something was deeply, terribly wrong. That night, Emeka couldn't sleep. The guest room was comfortable enough, but his mind wouldn't rest. Years of working in dangerous conditions had taught him to trust his instincts, and every instinct was screaming that his sister was not okay. Around 2 a.m., he heard it. Voices, low and tense, coming from the master bedroom down the hall. Emeka sat up in bed, his heart racing. He crept to his door and opened it slightly. "Told you not to laugh at his jokes like that." Chidi's voice, though lowered, carried a viciousness that made Emeka's blood run cold. "I wasn't," Ngozi's voice, small and frightened. Don't lie to me. I saw you. Everyone saw you, making me look like a fool, flirting with your brother like some... Chidi, please, he's my brother. Emeka's hand tightened on the doorknob. Every muscle in his body wanted to charge down that hallway, to break down that door, to protect his sister. But something held him back. The knowledge that barging in now without proof might only make things worse for Ngozi. In their culture, in their community, family matters stayed family matters, and a wife was expected to stand by her husband. If Emeka made accusations without evidence, Chidi would deny everything, the community would defend him, and Ngozi would be left even more isolated. He needed proof. Silently, Emeka pulled out his phone and activated the voice recorder. Then he crept closer to the master bedroom, staying in the shadows, praying the wooden floors wouldn't creak. You will respect me in my own house, Chidi was saying, his voice cold and controlled now. You will remember who you are and who I am. Without me, you are nothing. Your family respects me, your church respects me. No one would believe you if you try to say otherwise. I know, Ngozi whispered. I'm sorry. You're sorry? Show me you're sorry. Please, Chidi, please, I'll do better. I promise. You promise? Your promises are worthless. You know what you are? You are an ungrateful woman. I gave you everything, this house, this life, this position, and you disrespect me by laughing too loudly at your brother's stupid jokes? Emeka's hands shook as he held the phone, recording every word. Tears streamed down his face as he listened to his strong, brilliant sister being broken down by this monster. Stand up, Chidi ordered. Look at me. You will smile tomorrow morning. You will make breakfast. You will be the perfect wife until your brother leaves. And then you and I will have a proper conversation about respect. Do you understand? Yes. Yes, what? Yes, sir. Good. Now clean your face and go to sleep. You look ugly when you cry. Emeka crept back to his room, his heart shattered. His sister, his brilliant, kind, beautiful sister, was being tortured by the man everyone thought was perfect. He didn't sleep the rest of that night. He sat on his bed, listening to the recording over and over, planning. Monday morning came too bright and too cheerful. Ngozi was in the kitchen by 6 a.m., preparing breakfast. She wore a high-necked blouse, despite the October heat. Emeka came into the kitchen and found her there, moving mechanically between the stove and the counter. Good morning, Nem, he said softly. She jumped, nearly dropping the spatula. Emeka, you startled me. Good morning. Did you sleep well? Not really. He moved closer, keeping his voice low. Ngozi, we need to talk. Fear flashed across her face. About what? If this is about breakfast, Chidi likes his eggs a certain way. I heard him last night. The spatula clattered to the floor. Ngozi stood frozen, her face draining of color. I don't know what you... I heard everything, Ngozi, and I recorded it. Her eyes went wide with terror. She grabbed his arm, her fingers digging in desperately. Emeka, no, you can't. If he finds out... How long? Emeka's voice broke. How long has this been happening? Ngozi's carefully constructed walls crumbled. 4 years of silence, of suffering, of pretending, it all came crashing down. She collapsed against her brother, silent sobs racking her body. 4 years, she finally whispered. Since 6 months after we married. It started small, criticisms, insults. Then he started controlling my money, my phone, my movements. Then came the pushing, then the hitting. Then she couldn't finish. Why didn't you tell anyone? Why didn't you tell me? Because he's Dikin Chidi Okafor. The words burst out of her in a harsh whisper. Everybody loves him. Our parents respect him. The church worships him. Who would believe me? I tried once. I tried to tell Mama. She said I must be misunderstanding, that I should pray more, submit more, be a better wife. Chidi found out I talked to her, and that night, she touched her ribs unconsciously. I never tried again." Emeka held his sister, rage and grief warring inside him. This was the 21st century, and yet here was his sister, trapped in a nightmare that too many women knew too well. "You're coming with me," he said firmly. "Today, right now, we'll pack your things and—" "No!" She pulled back, panic in her eyes. "You don't understand. He has eyes everywhere. He knows people. He'll find me. And he's told me that if I ever try to leave, he'll destroy my career, my reputation. He'll tell everyone I'm mentally unstable, that I was unfaithful. He has edited photos, fake evidence. He's been planning for this possibility. Emeka, he's smart, so smart. That's why he's so dangerous." "Then what do we do?" Ngozi wiped her eyes, trying to pull herself together. "We wait. We're careful. You go back to work and we plan properly. We need evidence. We need lawyers. We need—" "Need what?" Both of them froze. Chidi stood in the kitchen doorway, freshly showered and dressed for work, his eyes moving between them with cold calculation. "Need what, my dear wife?" His voice was pleasant, but there was steel underneath. "What do you need?" The silence stretched like a physical thing. Emeka felt his sister's hand tighten on his arm, felt her entire body tense with fear. "We were just discussing the charity drive at church," Ngozi said, her voice remarkably steady despite the terror in her eyes. "We need more donations. Emeka was saying he could contribute." Chidi smiled. That smile. "Of course, my brother Emeka is always so generous." He moved into the kitchen, and Ngozi instinctively stepped back, pulling Emeka with her. "But you seem upset, my dear. Have you been crying?" "The onions," Emeka interjected quickly, gesturing to the cutting board. She was cutting onions. "Ah," Chidi's eyes never left Ngozi's face. "I see. How thoughtful of you to help your sister explain her tears, Emeka. You two have always been close, haven't you? Too close, some might say." The implication hung in the air like poison. "What are you suggesting?" Emeka's voice was dangerous now. "Suggesting? Nothing at all." Chidi's smile widened. "I'm simply observing how protective you are of your sister. It's admirable. Although," he paused, letting the moment stretch, "one might wonder why she needs so much protecting in her own home from her own husband." He knew. Somehow he knew that Ngozi had told Emeka something. "A good brother protects his sister," Emeka said carefully. "Always. Indeed, and a good husband protects his wife from all threats, internal and external." Chidi poured himself coffee, his movements casual, but his eyes remained sharp. "Ngozi, darling, remember we have that meeting with Pastor this afternoon? The one about our marriage counseling testimony?" Ngozi nodded, her face pale. "I remember." "Good. We need to present a united front. Show the younger couples how a godly marriage works. You know how important our testimony is." He took a sip of coffee, watching them both over the rim. "Emeka, don't you need to head back to Port Harcourt soon? I'm sure they need you back at the rig." "I have a few more days," Emeka replied evenly. "Wonderful. Then you'll be here to see how blessed your sister truly is, how loved, how protected." The way he said protected made it sound like a threat. "Now, I have to get to the office. Early meeting with the transport union." He set down his cup and moved toward Ngozi. She froze. He kissed her forehead, his hand cupping the back of her neck in what would look like affection to anyone who didn't see how tightly his fingers pressed, how she winced ever so slightly. "I'll see you at home, my love," he murmured, loud enough for Emeka to hear, then softer for only Ngozi. "Be smart." The moment Chidi's car pulled out of the compound, Ngozi's legs gave out. She sank into a chair, her whole body shaking. "He knows," she whispered. "He knows I told you. Emeka, you have to go. Today. Now. Before he... I'm not leaving you. You don't understand what he's capable of? Then help me understand. Emeka pulled his chair close to hers. Nemi, we have the recording. We have evidence. We can go to the police right now. Ngozi laughed bitterly. The police? Emeka, the commissioner is a member of our church. He and Chidi play golf together. Last year, a woman from the next street tried to report her husband for beating her. The police told her to go home and stop causing trouble. Her husband is a nobody. Chidi is Deacon Chidi Okafor. Do you understand now? Then we go to another police station, another town. With what proof? A voice recording that could be from anyone that he'll claim is fake or taken out of context. Emeka, he's been building his perfect image for years. He's made sure that everyone sees him as the victim of a demanding wife, always making jokes about how he tries so hard to please me. He's laid the groundwork for people to doubt me. The hopelessness in her voice broke Emeka's heart. So what? We do nothing. You stay here and let him continue to hurt you? I don't have a choice. There is always a choice, Ngozi. No. She stood up, anger finally breaking through the fear. You think this is easy? You think I haven't thought of leaving? I can't access my own bank account. He changed all the passwords. I can't just walk away from my job. He knows my boss and he'll make sure I'm blacklisted. I have no money, no proof that anyone will believe, and nowhere to go that he won't find me. Do you know what the community will say? They'll ask what I did to make him angry. They'll say I wasn't submissive enough. They'll say a good wife doesn't air her husband's secrets. They'll say... Her voice broke. They will say I'm the problem, and maybe they are right. Don't. Emeka grabbed her shoulders gently. Don't you dare blame yourself. None of this is your fault. None of it. Ngozi's phone lit up with a message. They both looked at it. Don't forget our meeting with Pastor at 3 p.m. Wear the blue dress I like, the one that shows what a blessed wife you are. Your loving husband. Ngozi's hands trembled as she picked up the phone. He's making sure I can't talk to you again. The whole afternoon will be under Pastor's supervision. And Pastor... She trailed off. Pastor what? Pastor won't believe me either. Last year, he preached a whole sermon about how wives need to submit more, how most marriage problems come from rebellious women. Chidi was praised for being patient with me. Emeka felt rage building in his chest. This wasn't just about one abusive man. It was about an entire system that protected men like Chidi and silenced women like Ngozi. The Igbo people have another proverb. Onye were chi oma, chi ya na eduya. Whoever has a good personal God, that God will guide them. But what happened when your God's house protected your abuser? Then we don't go to pastor, Emeka said decisively. We go higher. Higher? We document everything. Photos of every bruise, copies of every financial record, witness statements from anyone who might have seen or heard anything. We build a case so strong that not even his reputation can stand against it. And we do it today, before he has a chance to stop us. Emeka, he'll be watching. Let him watch. He thinks he's untouchable. Let him think that until we're ready. For the first time in 4 years, a small spark of hope flickered in Ngozi's eyes. You really think we can do this? I know we can. But Nemi, I need you to be strong, stronger than you've ever been. Can you do that? She thought of 4 years of silent suffering, 4 years of hiding bruises and swallowing pain, 4 years of being made to feel small and worthless, 4 years of surviving. Yes, she said, and this time her voice didn't shake. Yes, I can. At 3 p.m. sharp, Chidi and Ngozi sat in Pastor Emmanuel's office. It was a comfortable room, lined with theological books, a large wooden cross on the wall, and photos of the pastor with various church dignitaries. Pastor Emmanuel was a man in his 60s, jovial and respected, known for his powerful sermons on family values. Deacon Chidi, Sister Ngozi, welcome, he beamed at them. I'm so glad you could make time for this. You know, we've had 3 young couples ask specifically if you too would mentor them. Your marriage is such a testimony. We're honored, Pastor, Chidi said warmly, his hand squeezing Ngozi's knee a little too hard. She kept her smile fixed in place. Now, I thought we could discuss your testimony for the upcoming marriage seminar. I'd love for you to share your secret. How do you maintain such a blessed union in these modern times? Ngozi felt Chidi's fingers dig into her knee, a warning. This was it. This was her moment. She could speak now, tell Pastor everything, break her silence in front of a witness. But what would happen? Would Pastor believe her? Or would he dismiss her concerns, counsel her to be more submissive, send her back home with Chidi? And what would Chidi do to her once they were alone? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Chidi smiled. The secret, Pastor, is mutual respect and submission to God's word. My wife here, he looked at Ngozi with what appeared to be adoration. She is my crown. I cherish her. Wonderful, wonderful. Pastor was writing notes. Sister Ngozi, what would you say from your perspective? All eyes turned to her. This was her chance to break free, or her chance to seal her fate further. She looked at Chidi. He was still smiling, but his eyes promised consequences. She looked at Pastor. Kind, well-meaning pastor who'd preached about submission and obedience. She looked at the door, closed and heavy. And then she heard it, outside in the hallway, a familiar voice. Emeka's voice. Pastor Emmanuel, so sorry to interrupt. There's been an emergency. The door swung open and Emeka rushed in, his phone in his hand, another man behind him, a man Ngozi recognized as Mr. Arinze, a lawyer and church member known for his work on human rights cases. Emeka? Chidi stood up, his face darkening. What is the meaning of? The meaning, Deacon Chidi, is that your performance ends today. Emeka's voice was still. He turned to Pastor Emmanuel. Pastor, with all due respect, you need to hear this. He pressed play on his phone. The color drained from Pastor Emmanuel's face. Chidi lunged for the phone, but Mr. Arinze stepped between them. I wouldn't do that, Deacon Chidi, the lawyer said calmly. We have multiple copies, and this is just one piece of evidence. This is absurd. Chidi's mask was cracking, his voice rising. This is fake, doctored. My wife will tell you. Ngozi, tell them. All eyes turned to Ngozi again, but this time something was different. This time she wasn't alone. Slowly she stood up. Her hands were shaking, but her voice when it came was clear. Everything on that recording is true. She reached up and unwound the scarf from her neck, revealing the finger-shaped bruises there. Then she rolled up her sleeves, showing more bruises in various stages of healing. For 4 years, she said, her voice growing stronger with each word, I have lived in fear. I have been hit, choked, insulted, degraded, and controlled by this man. She pointed at Chidi. By the man everyone calls godly, by the man everyone admires. Ngozi, Chidi's voice was sharp. You're not well. You're confused. Pastor, she's been under a lot of stress. Stop. Pastor Emmanuel's voice cut through the room like a whip. His face was ashen. Just stop. He looked at Ngozi, really looked at her, and perhaps for the first time, he saw the pain that had been there all along, hiding beneath the smiles. Sister Ngozi, he said softly, is this true? All of it? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. All of it and more. Chidi's face twisted with rage. The mask finally fell completely away, revealing the monster beneath. You stupid woman. Do you know what you've done? Do you know what I'll do to you? You think your brother can protect you? You think anyone will believe? They already believe her. Mr. Arinze stepped forward with a folder. We've spent the day gathering evidence, financial records showing how you've controlled her accounts, medical records from the clinic where she went for treatment. Did you think the doctor wouldn't remember the woman who came in with suspicious injuries? Testimonies from neighbors who heard the fights, phone records showing how you monitored her calls. It's over, Chidi. For a long moment, Chidi stood frozen. Then, in a last desperate attempt, he turned to Pastor Emmanuel. Pastor, you know me. You know what I've done for this church. This is a conspiracy to destroy a man of God. My wife is mentally unstable, influenced by her brother. You can't believe... Get out. Pastor Emmanuel's voice was quiet but firm. Get out of my office, get out of my church, and pray that the police are kinder to you than you were to your wife. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized. Chidi Okafor, once the most respected deacon in Enugu, was stripped of his position and awaited trial for domestic violence and financial abuse. The evidence had been overwhelming. Once people started looking, they found a trail of manipulation and control that went back years. More importantly, once Ngozi spoke up, 3 other women came forward with their own stories of abuse by seemingly respectable men. The community was forced to reckon with an uncomfortable truth that monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they lead worship on Sunday. Ngozi stood in her new apartment, smaller than the house she'd shared with Chidi, but it was hers. Her name on the list, her money in her account, her choices about what to eat, what to wear, when to sleep, her freedom. Emeka visited often, as did a growing circle of friends, real friends, not the performance friends from her old life. She'd started therapy, joined a support group for survivors of domestic violence, and slowly, painfully, began the work of healing. "How are you?" Emeka asked one sunny Saturday morning as they sat on her small balcony drinking tea. Ngozi paused, considering. "I'm surviving. Some days are harder than others. Sometimes I still have nightmares. Sometimes I still hear his voice telling me I'm worthless." She smiled, a real smile this time. "But then I wake up in my own bed, in my own home, and I remember I'm free, and that's enough for now." The Igbo people say, "Ezioku bundu." Truth is life. For 4 years, Ngozi had lived in darkness, in lies, in silence. But truth, when finally spoken, had set her free. Pastor Emmanuel had publicly apologized to the church, admitting that he and the leadership had failed to create an environment where victims felt safe to speak up. The church started a new ministry specifically for survivors of domestic abuse, led by women who understood the journey. It wasn't enough to undo the harm, but it was a start. As for Chidi, he remained unrepentant to the end, convinced that he was the victim, that his wife had betrayed him, that the world simply didn't understand what he'd endured. Some people never see themselves clearly. They live their whole lives wearing masks, even to themselves. But Ngozi had learned a powerful truth. The mask of perfection, no matter how carefully crafted, will eventually crack. And when it does, the person standing beneath, scarred but strong, wounded but alive, that person is worth fighting for. Because in the end, the most dangerous monsters are not the ones hiding in the shadows. They're the ones standing in the light, holding Bibles and wearing smiles, counting on your silence to keep them safe. But silence, as in Ngozi land, is not strength. Speaking up is, believing victims is, standing with survivors is. And in a community that learns to listen, to truly listen, even the most carefully constructed masks cannot hide the truth forever. Ngozi eventually returned to church. Not Grace Redeemer, but a smaller congregation where the pastor was a woman who understood trauma, where submit wasn't a weapon, but a mutual agreement between equals, where questions were welcomed and doubt was not a sin. She began to tell her story, not for revenge, but for prevention. She spoke to young couples, to women's groups, to anyone who would listen. She taught them the warning signs, the isolation, the control, the way abuse often starts small and grows slowly, the way abusers often seem perfect in public. Don't be fooled by titles, she would say. Deacon, pastor, doctor, businessman, these are just titles. Look at how a man treats you when no one else is watching. That's who he really is. And slowly, one conversation at a time, one woman finding courage from another woman's story, the culture began to shift. Because change doesn't happen all at once. It happens in moments like these, when one person speaks truth, when one person believes, when one person says, I see you, I hear you, and you matter. The elders say, Egbebere, ugobere, let the kite perch, let the eagle perch. Whichever forbids the other to perch, let its wings break. In other words, we must make space for all truths, even uncomfortable ones. For too long, we protected reputations instead of people. We chose comfort over justice. We believed masks instead of tears. But a marriage built on fear is not a marriage, it is a prison. And a man who must use violence to feel powerful is not strong, he is weak. True strength is in vulnerability, in admitting fault, in treating others with dignity even when no one is watching. True godliness is in loving your wife as yourself, not controlling her as property. And true community is in believing the vulnerable, protecting the weak, and having the courage to see past the masks we all wear. Ngozi's story is one woman's story, but it echoes the silent suffering of countless others. In our communities, in our churches, in our homes, there are women living behind closed doors with men everyone admires in public. The question is not whether we will hear their stories eventually. The question is, will we believe them when we do? Dear friend, thank you for walking this difficult journey with Ngozi today. This story may have been hard to hear, but these stories need to be told. Abuse thrives in silence, but it dies in the light of truth. If you are watching this from somewhere in the world where you or someone you know might be living this reality, please hear this. It is not your fault. You are not crazy. You are not alone, and you deserve better. Reach out. Tell someone. Your life matters more than someone else's reputation. And if you are someone who hasn't experienced this but knows someone who might, believe them. Don't dismiss their pain. Don't tell them to pray more or submit more. Listen, support, act. Now we want to hear from you. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. Let's build a community of people committed to speaking truth and supporting survivors. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more African folk tales that carry the wisdom of our ancestors and the lessons we need for today. Next week, we bring you another powerful story, The Woman Who Wore Her Mother-in-Law's Face, a tale about identity theft, family betrayal, and the danger of envy. You won't want to miss it. Until then, remember, Ezioku Bundu. Truth is life. Speak it, live it, protect it. Stay blessed, stay aware, and keep your eyes open to the masks around you.